We get those ideas.
Yeah.
I'm never, and like skating without skates. You
Yeah.
know, we had those leather shoes. And I don't know, you got so, you just went, it felt like real skates. After a while.
Did you have a pond or anything on the
Yeah,
property?
well, those sloughs,
Okay.
When you have a lot of rain, you'd have a slough in there, or you could play in the slough.
Okay.
And
Because they
then
didn't
it
tile
freeze.
then.
No,
They,
no, I never went near a swimming pool. None of us learned how to swim.
Yeah. Well, I know
Until
Mom didn't.
Levon did. When she went to college, she had to go. She had to dive. And she said she was so nearsighted that she wasn't even afraid standing on the diving board because she couldn't see well enough. She was, but I was afraid of water my whole life.
Oh yeah.
I never, but every one of my kids can swim, and my husband could swim. I was the only one.
Yeah.
And I always was a little afraid of water.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
But the operettas were fun, and stick horses. We rode around on those stick horses till you almost thought they were real. An old broom. If it was white, you might we even named them Silver. When I look at those Waltons, sometimes I kind of remind us of the kids, of how we played and stuff.
Yeah.
We had a nice sidewalk going up down the front of the house. We could run up and down that, and steps. And then in winter, we had this hill in front of the house. The farm place, it was a nice house there with two big evergreens. I can see it to my life.
Yeah.
And then there was a hill going down to the gravel road. When we would slide down that winter, we poured water on it at night to make it icy. One would stand at the bottom of the road and watch for cars. And we maybe had one sled. We rode down on cardboard slabs and wash tubs. Oh, that was really fun. That was fun.
Yeah.
A lot of those things were fun. But
It's interesting because Levon took us to where the house site is now.
oh, did she?
Yeah. And
The
it's
steps-
flat. I mean, it's
They must have cut it way down.
yeah.
Because we went up a hill and there were pink roses there, and by the house we had 7 sisters, those flowers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we never did anything to them, but they came back beautiful. And then Grandpa and Grandpa really planned that, though. See, here was the house. On this side were cherry trees, which the birds always ate. We had pear apples, and we had green apples, and we also had crab apples. And
Huh.
they made crab apple pickles.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then in back of the grove, plum trees. And then over here, another grove. Here was a house, a big grove there, a big grove there. And of course, kids can play in groves, You
Oh,
can
yeah.
make roads, and you could, I don't know, I wonder if kids ever do that stuff anymore. Probably not.
Probably not.
They're looking at these little boxes all the time. I don't know. But we really had a lot of fun doing that stuff, really.
So the house, if Isaac was living across the road in the old place, then the house must have been built.
I don't know.
Probably about 80
if he remembered it, he must have been a young boy, maybe 12, 14.
Because he was
Would
born
there-
about 95.
Would
I
there
think.
be a record of that in the courthouse in Blue Earth? Don't they get building permits on fire? No, I suppose not. Those
They
days.
probably didn't then.
But there was a nice, strong basement with good steps going down, and we had those 3 big rooms, and then we had a big porch on the front. We slept out there a lot in summer because it was too hot, and we never had air conditioning.
Yeah. No.
Or
Well,
fans.
you didn't have electricity.
I know.
So how
We
could you?
never had any of that. Maybe that's why heat doesn't bother me, because
Yeah.
I love heat and I hate cold. And then Isaac said this big room, the kitchen, and a big porch off of it, then a pantry over here. That had a lot of room in it, and they had a picture of Nelson, his coffin in there. Corrine was always taking me in there to scare me. For some reason, they took a picture of Nelson, his coffin. I suppose because he was buried up in Canada. I suppose he was buried up.
So there was
And
a
it was
permanent
spooky.
picture
Yeah.
of Nels
Nels
in his coffin.
It
in
was
your-
someplace in the pantry. Crean would take me in there. She was so full of the devil. Anyway, she was just a character. Anyway, then they had that big porch, and then the steps, and then there was the east room, and the north room. They shut off. I think there are 3 big rooms upstairs and a big hall.
Okay.
But some of the kids left, fairly soon. So
Yeah.
we weren't all there.
Right. So it wasn't 6 kids sleeping in each bed. Kind
No,
of.
we were. I remember when Norma was home. No, Norma and Betty and I usually slept together. There were
Okay.
3 in the bed,
Okay.
but that didn't last because then they went to town to work and
Right.
go to school, and then they went to teaching, and
Yeah.
you know they taught right out of high school. Betty went those few months in
Right.
summer and went
Yeah.
right to teaching country school
Yeah. And mom
Norma-
mom left.
right away, and
Well, she was what, in ninth
Right.
grade when she
went and take care of
went
the old
left
lady.
and went
She
to town.
was fussy too. That
And
lady was-
she was there year round almost,
Yeah,
wasn't she?
yeah, she was.
Yeah.
there.
So she
I
lived
remember her
really.
coming home, but she was gone fairly soon. And then I remember the day we took her to St. Olaf. Everyone thought that was such a golden opportunity. That's how the relatives talked. And she was going to be a nurse, and it was a cadet nursing corps, wartime, and they wanted. I even had a picture of her in her
Yeah,
cadet.
you do. Yeah,
saw that.
yeah.
So that was a big deal because I got to go along for some reason, taking her up. Eddie drove.
Oh yeah.
And Pa and Mom, yeah, and Norma, and she was excited. And
So this was
So
that
she-
actually was the
Her-
program that she was going into then.
for nursing, and I suppose she didn't have to pay. I don't
Okay.
remember us paying.
All right. I thought that was something that she just joined after she had started her nursing
No,
training.
the
No.
cadet nursing was to get nurses and
Okay.
needed nurses.
So
Yeah.
they kind of recruited
Yeah.
kids to go into nursing
Yeah.
through the.
And it worked.
Army
really,
program.
It worked real good. A lot of them went into it, and that.
Well, that's
that-
interesting.
Yeah, it was. Wartime was different, and I remember we used to dig foxholes. We were killing Japs, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and mashing these cans. I do
Yeah.
remember doing that, stepping on those cans.
Yeah.
And were they really, is that just to keep the average person busy, or were they really, some people said later, like we had sugar rationing and we got more stamps.
Well, I
and
think that was
so
real.
That was.
I think
and
all that-
gas rationing.
Right.
I remember that. I remember a lot back, sometimes more than yesterday, I'll tell you. It really did.
That's a nice thing about
Yeah.
talking to older folks is
Yeah.
that maybe you don't remember a whole lot about what happened last week, but
Yeah,
but
this is
you
what
can
I had
but
for
you
lunch.
but you can remember what happened 50 years ago.
Yeah, that was, and I remember at country school too, we had pretty good teachers. You know, and we were like first graders, and so before we got this reading time, we already watched. You know, you watch the other kids, you learn a lot from. Read
Yeah.
every book in the library. Really liked school. We all liked school, it seemed like, even if we had to walk.
Well, that's probably why
Yeah,
so many went into teaching.
And yeah,
you know.
that stuff too. But we had one teacher that she was from up north, and she would always wear a parka.
Yeah.
She wore kind of dorky stuff, and she wore black Oxfords with. We giggled a lot in these years. You know, cousin Corinne was such an instigator. She wore black Oxfords with a high striped anklet. And to make me laugh, then the school Corinne would drew a picture of a black shoe with a high striped, held it up. She probably doesn't even remember that. She doesn't. She thought of the stuff, and then we did work out for in high school. We babysat in grade school and walked beans or pulled mustards out of flax and all this, and then we started cleaning the house for neighbors.
Okay.
And how they cleaned in those days. No kidding. We washed walls. To this day, I feel guilty when I don't rinse the floor when I wash it. See, Selma had us wash the floor, then we rinse it with clear water, and you put, no wonder my knees are wrecked. And then, then we had to wax. You know, they did waxing in those days, where now it's just vinyl. You know, and
Well, the floors were just boards.
yeah,
Right?
well, linoleums, a lot of linoleums.
Oh, you started having linoleum.
And
Okay.
they'd have a rug in the living room, but no one went in the living room probably except on Sunday. That's the only place they used the vacuum. And when I thought it over, I thought, why didn't we vacuum the whole house? We were dusting, you know, with dust mops, and they carried mattresses out. We beat them on the clothesline and then vacuumed. Always giggled, even with this. She was kind of a heavy-set lady,
Mhm.
and she.
Oh,
we
so
carried the
you
mattress-
vacuum your neighbors. I was going to say, how did you vacuum your house?
No, no, these
Because
were
you
the
didn't have
neighbors.
the
They
neighbors had electricity.
Oh, they were.
Okay.
They had electricity, but they had huge houses, and they didn't
Okay.
need help, I suppose.
Yeah, oh,
too,
yeah.
But Selma always, I had her voice down pat, 'cause she always ate this big meal. Oh, she was a really good cook. Made angel food cake from
This is your neighbor?
scratch, yeah, that we worked for. And their roast beef was just, you know, they had good meat in those days, you know, it was never tasted that good again. But she always would eat this big meal, and then she'd say, "Would you hate me if I had to lay down? And well, my heart's been acting up lately." Until all I called Corinne once and said that over the phone and wished her happy birthday, and she remembered that was just how Selma talked. Suddenly, then she'd go take a nap, and you had all these dishes because, because she did everything from scratch.
Yeah.
They didn't have instant potatoes then, did they? I should think not.
Probably not.
They didn't even have all the cold cereals. I remember when Cheerios came out, Gerald was a baby and he liked them so well.
Yeah.
It was
They had
really
oatmeal.
different, yeah.
They had oatmeal in the morning, right?
Yeah, oatmeal.
Yeah.
And cream of wheat,
Cream of wheat.
like library paste. I never liked that.
Oh, I love cream of wheat.
No, I liked oatmeal.
I guess Mom must have carried that through because that's what we had all the time.
Oh,
Cream of
really?
wheat.
That was good for you.
And I didn't like oatmeal because it was,
It could
it
get
had so much.
gummy.
Yeah.
But see, I put brown sugar, cinnamon, and nuts, and I kind of really like it, and it stays with you, just stays with you so much better than some of that stuff. And the kids, we didn't even know kids who got, like at Christmas, nobody'd say, "What'd you get?" I mean, we always got flannel pajamas, maybe a box of stationery, maybe Radio Girl or Blue Waltz perfume, 10 cents from the dime store. But we got to go on both sides of the house. That was the big thing for Christmas. And we had to say our pieces, Christmas pieces to our dads. I remember saying our Christmas pieces.
So, what was that?
Well, they'd give you, you'd have a Christmas piece about the
Was from
birth
school?
of Christ for church. And
Oh, from church.
school would be more about stockings and Santa, but church was more
Okay.
green even.
So at church they would give you.
We'd have to
Your
go up front
Christmas-
and say a Christmas piece. They called it yourself, and we had to sing, and we had practices, and we had to memorize the song. She
So
wouldn't
you
let
had
us
to-
use music.
So you had to then.
To this
You
day.
had to give your Christmas piece to your
Yeah,
father.
or your whole class would sing together. First, we were all in the basement, lined up 2 by 2. I was so horrified one year because I had to walk with Ralph Saban, and I just loathed him. You know how you had, boy, I never forgot that. He turned out to be a nice person. But then as we come upstairs, Corinne remembered that too. In the altar, they had this beautiful tree, all blue lights to the ceiling. It was just awesome. And that was our big deal at Christmas. We got our present from the teacher, and then we got a big sack of candy with an apple and all those chocolate drops. And a church in Min Lake had the same thing, gave the same kind of thing not too long ago.
Huh.
Then they disbanded. But that was a highlight, the church program, the practices where you got tired of going, and she just demanded perfection. Her name was Hannah Opal, and she was a minister's daughter. She was eccentric. She did become a missionary later. One time she had a sore throat, and she had a white anklet pinned around her throat with a big safety pin. For some reason that stuck in my head. And boy, she had so much energy and so much pep, and boy, we learned those songs. To this day, I know most of the carols by heart. And then school, we got to have a stage.
Okay. Yeah.
They made a stage out of planks. I don't know, and we had a curtain. And, oh, that was exciting. That was really fun.
I was going to say it's
Then we'd have
kind
a
of hard to
play.
have
Yeah.
a stage in a one-room
Yeah,
schoolhouse.
Yeah, but we did. We had it in back, and that was so exciting. Then sometimes school half day, and then we get to practice the rest of the day.
Yeah.
But I was thinking back. I only knew 2 people, Beverly and Judith. They were real nice kids. They had a lot of money. They had their own playhouse. They got to see it once. You know what? We felt sorry for them. Because they could only go the end of the driveway in their bicycle. That was part of it. But I mean, they were kind of like envious of us because they had no one really to play with, and they were so gentle and protective, overprotective, just
Yeah.
really overprotective. They were the only people, but no one went around saying, "What'd you get for Christmas?" Or they'd say, "I want a smartphone," or "I want this," or
yeah.
that never
Just
happened.
happy to get whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that never
So,
happened.
so you said the big thing about Christmas was that you got to go on both sides of the house.
Yeah, usually we
So-
have a
so-
swinging door between.
Okay.
So that way, and Christmas Eve we went from side to side. We all kind of joined together. And one thing we really did a lot of at home was
So you
play-
didn't do a lot of that other times of the year? You were
No, we
truly
kept
kind
the
of
door shut.
separated?
We kind of separated, which was good, you know, and then
Okay.
we had.
But you could go, I mean, you went over
yeah,
there
we
and,
could go
you know,
over and
but,
play
but,
with the other kids, but kind of kept it separate, but we had pianos, I think, on both sides. And LaDonna and I took piano lessons, so we could play then, and we did a lot of singing and playing the piano at home. The big old-fashioned pianos, you know,
Yeah.
those clunks. I don't think I could even play them.
that's one of the pictures that has you and LaDonna, I think,
Yeah, at the
and someone
piano
else at the piano.
Orvin.
And Orvin,
Yeah.
but it says LaDonna's playing the piano,
Yeah.
and I blew up the picture.
Yeah.
You're the one that's playing the piano.
Yeah, we did. I did play for something in school too at one time in high school. We got a ways with piano, but then we stopped. You know, we went away from home.
Mm-hmm.
That was a traumatic too because we walked. We walked to take piano lessons. That would be a couple miles. And they had a dog called Tiny who almost bit me once. Finally, they got rid of him. Then we had to go by a field where there was a mean bull in the field. People had cows and things. It was so different. Now you don't even see cows and horses.
Don't see any animals anymore.
We used to play zip every time you saw a white horse. That was zip in the car, you know.
Mhm.
Stupid stuff. Kids now would think that was so.
So I'm fascinated with the house and the idea that there was two families
Yeah,
living in it.
and it wasn't meant for a two-family house.
Right.
It
Well, that
worked
was
out.
it. I was going to ask because it wasn't built that way. It was a
No.
one-family home
Yeah.
that was then divided.
Yeah.
So did you have your own kitchen?
Yeah,
Or was it
yeah.
retrofitted?
Yeah.
Must have been
No,
somehow.
we had a sink of sorts. We had a kitchen and then the big living room and the big bedroom, and we had bunk beds for the boys, and it worked out because, for one thing, we all left so soon.
I guess there weren't any bathrooms in the house.
Oh, no. Outhouses. Chamber pots and outhouses. That's like a dying. It's just really strange.
It's really amazing
Yeah.
to think. I mean, number
And
one,
then I
not to
had
have
one
electricity,
class-
but the other to not have running water.
Yeah, that was
You know, as late
lot
as
of work, yeah.
as late as you guys lived in that
yeah,
house.
17 years.
I mean,
lived
like
in
you
that
say, to
place.
wash clothes and
Yeah.
carry water.
Oh, we carried a lot of water. Oh, Mom carried so much water. Oh, we could.
And in the
complain about it,
wintertime?
but boy, she worked hard in her day, and then
And it was all pumped, right? I mean,
Yeah,
the well
hand
it wasn't you just lifted up like I have.
No.
You actually had to pump it.
No, we had to pump the water, and then we had to keep that tank broke from the ice. The men would put a tank heater in there for the animals, you know, for winter.
Right.
And then the barn and the cows and the horses were on one side, pigs and all that stuff were.
So all the
Animals.
water that you had for your animals was also from that one well?
Yeah, that pumping well there. But they had a big stock tank. I don't think they suffered. We had a nice.
But you had to
net
carry all that water from across the road
to the house.
to the house, but
Yeah.
also to the barn, right?
No, the barn was real close to the barn. The cattle could get at it. They wouldn't have to carry for them. They'd pump water for that. I don't think we had an automatic pump. No.
So did they have? Were they kept across the road then?
Yeah, all the animals were across the road.
Oh, okay.
The house and the outhouses were on one side.
In the fields
Yeah.
and
And,
then the
The stock was
The
on
old-
the other side.
okay,
And they had,
all
you
right.
know, like cattle, and we had chickens.
right. Okay.
And we had pigs. I remember pushing that big cart to slop the hogs. In the old days, they had one of those.
Uh-huh.
You'd help. You were a kid, thought that was important. And the smell of feed when they stirred that up, you know. And we always had a lot of cats in the barn. And that old blue beach shack, that had an upstairs and no heat or anything, but we'd play in there with the cats. And we had cats and dogs, lots of cats and dogs. Try to sneak them in the house.
And then you had Mexicans in the summertime.
That was in the summertime, not every.
Uh,
And some of them kept it really nice. And I remember particularly one family, Lupe, Rebecca, Tony, Agrippino. And they had Henry. We called him Cripple Boy. He must have had something wrong with him, you know.
Yeah.
They carried him, but we'd always take candy to him. We went to town, we'd bring stuff for we called him Cripple Boy, but his name was Henry. And they were so good to him. Oh, they had him out in a little swing they made by the place, you know. And they were always carried really good to him.
so would it
And
be the
one-
same family that would come up every summer, or was it
Well,
a different
yeah,
group
we
of?
had Albert and Sarah and Mary, and I don't remember the dad's name. They lived in the Red Beach Shack. There were two of them, Red and Blue. Red was, and they kept them really nice, that I remember when they got in there with her. And they all worked the beats, and then they'd go back.
Okay, but it would be the same families that would come back and forth?
I think Tony and Rebecca and them came back.
Okay.
But then there were some other Cervantes that Shirley, I think, looked up once in the cities. They
Mm.
all turned out okay and
Good.
got their own, I think they end up staying here.
Yeah.
But at that time they came. But when we cooked for a pea vine recruit one summer, LaDonna and I were, what, in high school then? We waited on them and set the table and washed the dishes, and Mom and Annie cooked for them for extra money, you know, for summer. And then they pulled that one shack behind the house so they could eat there, a long table. And then, they liked a lot of beans, you know, and they were real happy-go-lucky and all that. But what was funny about it is Saturday night, Pa had that big truck. You saw that picture.
Mhm.
He would, you want to go to town? Oh, yeah, Nistra Alfredo, they called it. Oh, they really liked that. They'd all ride in the back and go to Elmer and get to drink beer, you know, and stuff. And Pa got such a kick out of it. On his face there, he's got such a big smile on him. He got such a kick out of that group.
Yeah.
And they were, I don't remember them being troublesome. I don't remember them causing any trouble. They just were. The pea vinery, I don't know what they did in pea vineries.
Yeah.
Something about the vines, they don't even do that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
You wouldn't know that if you weren't
all,
farming.
Actually, all that, everything that was done back then
It's
is
changed.
so different that
Oh.
you know, I see some of this equipment and from the 30s, and I have to look at it to try and figure out what it
is.
does.
Rake, and then the corn planters, you had corn on
Yeah.
each side of that thing.
Uh-huh.
I remember that, and the manure spreaders.
Yeah. Well, but that hasn't changed.
What really was fun was threshing days, because they'd come with that big machine, you know, when it was your turn. And
Mhm.
old man Thompson, we called him, he still was coming with his hay rack and horses. I could smell them, you know, the horses, and they had a little box in back, and we would ride that out in the field and then jump off.
Mhm.
One year, one guy put no riders on his, one of the neighbors. They got sick of us kids. Honey, we didn't get hurt, you know, running and jumping. And we rode out to the field, and then that was a big deal, you know, to ride up. But the big deal was Grandma Bird would come over and help cook for them. And, oh, we had to make big meals. And they had a bench and a wash dish with water by the door for them to wash up, you know. And they ate, oh, they were hungry, and it was always hot. I can still feel that hay sticking in your neck, you know, it was always hot weather for threshing. But Grandma Bird came with a big dishpan like this with a white, we were talking about that a lot in Jeans, we laughed. It was town bread. That was a big deal to us, because it was town bread, not
Okay.
homemade bread, and it had meat sandwiches, that cheap cold meat they bought years ago, probably better than, just packed full. She'd come over and help for threshing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't remember her coming and helping much. She lived with the brother about 5 miles from us. You know, we all lived close around too. That was what was nice.
So,
Grandma Bird was Mom's mother.
okay,
She'd come over. George had
Right.
been her over in the Model T. I remember those old cars.
but her husband was still alive.
Yeah, Grandpa Bird was
Yeah.
alive for quite a while, but
Right.
she'd come over. I don't remember Grandpa ever driving. George drove.
Okay.
They had
Right.
farmed with horses exclusively. We had that old John Deere.
Right.
And if we took out the coffee out to the field, that's Linda.
Okay.
And, oh, this is Linda.
Hi.
How are you? I'm number 6.
Oh, I have to stop and think. I was telling him about the old days, how well I remember that, and I can't remember my own kids' birthdays.
Oh.
At the time. She's the one who had a teaching degree, and then she went in, she works with cops.
Oh.
Wears a uniform.
Uh-oh.
She came out about like your girl for Junior. He's got a girl who went to journalism, and now she's doing.
I don't know what she's doing.
But see, the same thing, a
yeah.
bad situation.
I actually love what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I didn't want to change.
No, you wouldn't know, but you know, initially, when
Oh,
you
yeah,
could just
yeah.
get, all she could get was subby,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that's no good deal, you know.
Yeah, there was a big glut right at the time I graduated.
Oh,
But-
there was, and then cut so much, cut programs,
Yeah,
cut
yeah.
teachers.
Yeah.
It was just, we were just going over the old days. You'd be horrified. I haven't even told you all that. Like he said, Norma never wanted to talk about it. She hated it. She was
She
more.
really hated
Growing up.
Norma didn't like.
anything to do with farming. Period.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah, she
Uh-uh.
just.
No, she was so anxious to get away, but she was the oldest one. She had it
Yeah.
the toughest, I think.
Well, and she got to help with all of you. Too.
Yeah, and
Well, that's
she-
what I was saying. I think that a lot of it was just
Yeah.
that
Yeah, and
she
then
was a
over-
surrogate mother for all these little kids.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, I think she
and-
helped a lot while
and
she was around.
She had to
yeah.
sort of grow
I
up a lot
remember her
faster.
cooking.
Right.
You know.
Right.
But she was gone when she in high school, and she went and lived with this old lady and took care of her who was fussy as. But she'd come home on weekends sometimes.
Oh.
I remember her loving green apples, because we always had all those apples trees, and we had every. And I was thinking we'd go pull a carrot out of the garden and wipe it on the grass and just eat it. Uncle
Yes.
Eddie even did
I
that
do
once.
that. What's wrong with that?
I know it. You
I just
should.
I just pulled the last of my carrots this
Oh, and
weekend.
they were so good. What, and even I'll say one thing, those carrots they have now that are organic, they are really better than the other ones.
Yeah. Otherwise
The
they get
apples
almost
are
no flavor.
worthless. They can say they're organic, but they're not, you know.
Or they just don't have the flavor
Yeah.
that you remember.
Yeah, no, Joe's do.
It's
My
different
one
different
son
apples.
For
And
sure.
one son lives on a place where the 2 apple trees that just every year we're giving to neighbors and freezing, and they're delicious. Betty just loved them. Now she can maybe get a chance for some. California, she said.